Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us and really dig into them for the most fascinating bits.
Exactly. You send it, we dive in.
Today we're tackling something epic, literally. Excerpts from the Mahabharata. We're focusing specifically on what happened right after Draupadi's self-choice, her svayamvara, where she chose Arjuna.
Right. For anyone maybe less familiar, the svayamvara was this ceremony, a kind of contest where a princess picked her husband, often based on, well, some incredible feat.
And our listener, who fits that learner profile, wanting deep knowledge quickly, avoiding the overwhelm, loving those aha moments, they wanted to know about the immediate fallout.
So our mission today, to unpack that aftermath, the reactions, how the Pandavas started their new life, that very unique marriage situation, and just the early dynamics. It's amazing how this ancient text gives us perspectives that still kind of hit home.
Okay, let's jump in. So the Swayamvara ends, Arjuna wins. What's the very first thing that happens?
Well, Draupadi's brother, Drishtadyumna, he basically legs it back to their father, King Drupada.
Right, to deliver the news.
Exactly. And he's practically buzzing. He gives this incredible description of Arjuna, large red eyes, wearing just a deer skin, but looking almost, well, divine.
And the archery skills must have been something else.
Oh, completely breathtaking. Apparently, the Brahmanas, the priests who were there, they were actually, paying homage to him. It was that impressive.
Wow. Just immediate recognition of, greatness.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just Arjuna. Drishtadyumna also mentions this other powerhouse, Bhima, Arjuna's brother.
Bhima, what did he do?
He jumped in to defend Arjuna when the other kings got angry they'd lost. And get this, he used a whole tree as a weapon.
A whole tree. Seriously, talk about making a statement.
Right, but then things take a sharp turn. After all that drama and prowess, Arjuna, Bhima, Draupadi, who's also called Krishna here, and their mother Kunti, they just leave.
Not in a grand procession?
No, quite the opposite. Really humble. They end up at a potter's place, living super simply.
How simple are we talking?
Like going out for alms, the text calls it eleemosynary visits, basically begging, sharing whatever they get equally. Sleeping on kusa glass mats with deer skins.
That's a huge contrast to the royal court they just left.
A massive contrast. And it highlights how vulnerable they still are. They won, but they're still in disguise, hiding their identity.
Right. They weren't recognized immediately as the Pandavas.
Not by most. But Drishtadyumna, he's sharp. He notices how they talk about military stuff, not like typical Brahmanas or lower castes. He starts thinking, wait a minute, could these be the sons of Kunti? The ones who supposedly died in that fire?
The Hells of Lag incident.
Exactly. And when Drishtadyumna tells his father, Drupada, this suspicion, Drupada is overjoyed. Ecstatic, really.
Why such a strong reaction?
Well, it turns out Drupada and the Pandavas' father, Pandu, were incredibly close friends, like brothers. And Drupada had secretly hoped for a long time that Arjuna would marry his daughter.
So this is like a wish come true, if it is them.
Precisely. So Drupada doesn't waste a second. He sends his own priest straight away. Go find them, figure out who they are they really Pandu's sons, and tell them how happy I am.
It's personal, not just political. He wants that connection back.
Definitely. The priest's message is all about Drupada's joy and wanting to know about their family, their tribe.
Okay, so the priest arrives at the potter's hut. How are they received?
Very respectfully. Despite the humble setting, Yudhishthira, the eldest brother, directs Bhima to offer the proper courtesies, water for the feet, the Argya offering. Very dignified.
Always maintaining their standards, even in hiding.
It shows their true nature, right? And Yudhishthira's reply to the priest's questions is a masterclass in diplomacy.
Oh, yeah. What does he say?
He basically says, look, King Drupada set a condition for his daughter's hand, string the bow, hit the mark. That condition was met.
Simple as that.
Pretty much. He argues that the act itself proves everything you need to know about the winner's lineage, his skill, his strength. Drupada shouldn't have any regrets.
It's clever. He confirms their worth without actually naming names yet. He points to the sheer difficulty of the feat.
Exactly. The strength to string that bow, the skill for that shot, only someone of, well, noble birth and serious training could manage it. He implies it all.
Very smooth.
And right then, as they're talking, another messenger shows up.
Oh, from Drupada again.
Yep, saying the wedding feast is ready. Come to the palace. Things are moving fast.
No kidding. So off they go?
Off they go. The Pandavas get royal chariots. Kunti and Draupadi actually ride together in one, quite a step up from the potter's hut.
And Drupada's ready for them.
More than ready. He's pulled out all the stops. The preparations are incredible. What's really interesting is he wasn't sure who they were, right? Brahmana.
Kshatriya, so we prepared for all possibilities.
Everything. Articles suited for Brahmanas, things for Kshatriya's fruits, garlands, but also armor, weapons, even farming tools, chariots, horses. He covered all bases. Very thorough.
Shows he's thoughtful, wanting to honor them properly no matter what.
Definitely. And Kunti and Draupadi get a really warm welcome from the palace ladies. The whole atmosphere is positive.
And what about when Drupada sees the brothers themselves?
Their appearance is striking. The text mentions their lion-like gait, still wearing deer skins, but with bull-like eyes, broad shoulders, powerful arms. They just radiate nobility and strength.
So Drupada and his court are impressed.
Totally. Everyone's just glad to see them. They take their seats, apparently very comfortably fearless, eat this huge feast.
And then, is there a final clue?
Yes. After dinner, their eyes are immediately drawn to all the weapons laid out. That's the clincher for Drupada.
Their warrior instincts kick in.
Exactly. That confirms it in his mind. These guys are Kshatriyas. Warriors, no doubt.
So does he finally ask them directly?
He does. He approaches Yudhishthira, still formally kind of like addressing a Brahmana just in case, but he asks point blank, are you Kshatriyas, Brahmanas in disguise? Are you maybe even gods?
He wants the truth.
He insists on it. Says truth is more important for kings than even performing sacrifices.
Wow, high stakes. And Yudhishthira.
Yudhishthira decides it's time. He joyfully confirms, yes, we are Kshatriyas, we are the sons of Pandu.
Finally.
He names Bhima and Arjuna as the specific victors, mentions the twins, Nakula and Sahadeva are there too, and their mother Kunti. He even uses this lovely metaphor, comparing Draupadi to a lotus transferred from one lake to another, and he acknowledges Drupada as their revered elder.
How does Drupada take the confirmation?
He's absolutely ecstatic, over the moon, all his hopes confirmed. And then, naturally, he wants to know everything. How did you escape the House of Lac?
Right, the full story.
Yudhishthira tells him. And Drupada is furious about the plot against them, condemning Dhritarashtra, the Kaurava's father. He even vows right then and there to help Yudhishthira regain his kingdom.
So alliance is forming, old bonds renewed, things are looking up.
Things are definitely looking up. Identities confirmed, welcome secured. So Drupada moves to the next logical step.
The wedding itself.
Right. He proposes that Arjuna, the one who actually won the contest, should formally marry Draupadi with all the proper rights. Makes sense.
Seems straightforward enough.
But this is the Mahabharata. Nothing is ever straightforward. Yudhishthira drops a bombshell.
Oh, what?
He says, yes, but I shall marry her too.
Wait, Yudhishthira, the eldest.
And then he follows it up with the real shocker. Draupadi will be the common wife of all 5 brothers.
All 5.
Yeah.
How does he explain that?
He says it's based on their mother Kunti's command, apparently. When they brought Draupadi back, Kunti, without seeing what they brought, told them to share whatever alms they'd received equally. Plus, he mentions a family custom. Any jewel they obtain, they share.
Wow, okay. How does Drupada react to that? I can't imagine he's thrilled.
Thrilled is definitely not the word. He objects strongly. He's like, this is unheard of. It's against usage, against the Vedas. Are you sure you know what you're saying? Polyandry wasn't the norm at all.
What's Yudhishthira's defense? Beyond mom said so.
It's quite a multi-layered argument, actually. He talks about how morality can be subtle, very complex. He mentions following the paths of respected ancestors. He stresses his own truthfulness, saying he wouldn't suggest something sinful. He reiterates his mother's command is paramount. And he even says his own heart approves it.
So it's duty, precedent, personal conviction. A whole package.
A whole package trying to justify something deeply unconventional. It really makes you think about dharma, about right and wrong in context, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What does Drupada do? He can't be easily convinced.
No, he's still reeling. He asks Yudhishthira, Kunti, and his own son, Dhristadyumna, to go discuss this, deliberate on it, try and figure it out.
And then?
And then at this exact critical moment, who should arrive but the great sage, Vyasa.
Vyasa, the author of the epic himself, appearing in the story. Talk about timing.
Perfect timing, right? Everyone greets him with huge respect, of course, and Drupada wastes no time. He asks Vyasa directly, how can one woman marry multiple husbands without sin? Is this even possible?
$1 million question.
Yeah.
Was Vyasa's take.
Vyasa starts cautiously. He acknowledges, yes, okay, this practice is against current usage, against the Vedas as they're commonly understood. It's become obsolete, but he wants to hear everyone's opinions first.
So he opens the floor.
Yep. Drupada and Dhristadyumna immediately repeat their objections. tradition, morality, the specific issue of, a brother approaching another brother's wife. It feels wrong to them.
And Yudhishthira, does he add anything?
He reiterates his points, his own righteousness, his duty to his mother, but he also brings up precedents from the Puranas, ancient stories. He mentions a woman named Jatila who married 7 sages, and Virkshi, an ascetic's daughter, who married 10 brothers called the Prachetas.
So there are stories of this kind of thing.
Apparently so, according to Yudhishthira. He uses these to argue it's not entirely without precedent, and again, he stresses his mother's command, comparing Draupadi to alms that must be shared.
It's a clash between established social rules and these specific justifications.
A real dilemma. Seeing the impasse, Vyasa takes Drupada aside, says, let me explain this privately.
Ah, the inside story. What does Vyasa tell him?
Well, this is where it gets truly cosmic. Vyasa reveals this incredibly complex backstory. It involves a time when the human population grew too large, alarming the gods.
Okay, a bit of a detour.
A major one, but it's crucial. He talks about Indra, the king of the gods, encountering Mahadeva or Shiva and being arrogant, leading to Indra and 4 previous Indras being cursed or confined.
5 Indras.
5 Indras. And Vyasa reveals that the 5 Pandava brothers are, in fact, the human incarnations of these 5 Indras.
Whoa, so they're not just noble warriors, they're divine beings, essentially.
Incarnations of gods, yes. And Draupadi. She wasn't just born normally, she emerged from Drupada's sacrificial fire. Vyasa explains she is the incarnation of the celestial goddess Sri, the goddess of grace and prosperity.
Sri Lakshmi.
Essentially, yes. And she was preordained by the gods to be the common wife of these 5 incarnated Indras.
So the polyandry wasn't just Kunti's command or Yudhishthira's idea. It was divine destiny.
Exactly, a cosmic arrangement. To make sure Drupada fully gets it, Vyasa grants him divine sight temporarily.
He lets him see their true forms.
Lets him see the Pandavas in their glorious celestial Indra forms. And after seeing that, Drupada's like, okay, I get it now. He accepts the situation completely.
That's quite the explanation. It reframes everything. It's not a social scandal, it's fate.
Fate, divine will, however you want to put it. It overrides conventional morality in this case.
So with Drupada finally on board, thanks to Vyasa's intervention, the weddings can happen.
Yes, now he's not just accepting, he's joyful about it, understanding the divine significance. Vyasa instructs them that Yudhishthira should marry Draupadi first on an auspicious day.
And the ceremony.
Or ceremony.
Grand ceremonies. Kings, relatives, priests, citizens, everyone's there. Drupada's palace is decked out. Their family priest, Damya, officiates.
And she marries each brother.
One after the other, yes. Yudhishthira first, then Bhima, then Arjuna, then Nakula, then Sahadeva. Successive rites for each.
And there's that detail about her regaining her virginity. Yes, the text mentions that remarkably she became a virgin again each day before marrying the next brother. It just adds to her unique, almost supernatural status in the story.
Truly extraordinary. What about wedding gifts? Must have been lavish.
Immense. Drupada gives tons of stuff. Gold chariots, elephants, thousands of female servants, huge amounts of wealth, gorgeous robes, ornaments.
He's fully investing in this alliance now.
Absolutely. And Krishna the Yadava prince, Arjuna's friend, not Draupadi this time, also sends an unbelievable amount of gifts.
Oh, what does he send?
All sorts of gold ornaments, amazing clothes from different regions, blankets, hides, beds, carpets, vehicles, vessels, more female servants by the 1,000, elephants, horses, chariots, and just heaps of gold coins. Massive wealth and support from the Yadavas, too.
So the Pandavas are suddenly very well connected and well resourced.
Yeah.
How does the rest of the world react to news of these marriages, specifically their rivals?
Well, back in Hastinapura, Duryodhana, their main cousin and rival, hears about it and just sinks into depression.
He sees the threat.
He and his allies, like Karna and Sakuni, are seriously worried. The Pandavas aligning with the powerful Drupada, that strengthens them hugely.
What about the older generation? Dhritarashtra, the blind king.
Their uncle Vidura, who's always been sympathetic to the Pandavas, tells Dhritarashtra the news, and Vidura is happy about it.
Is Dhritarashtra.
Initially, there's this telling moment where Dhritarashtra misunderstands and thinks Duryodhana won Draupadi, shows where his hopes lie. But when Vidura corrects him, explaining she married all 5 Pandavas, Dhritarashtra puts on a good face. He says, oh, well, good. An alliance with Drupada is beneficial for us. But it seems maybe not entirely sincere.
Especially given who's advising him.
Exactly. Duryodhana, Karna, and Sakuni immediately start poisoning his ear. We have to weaken them now.
What kind of schemes do they suggest?
Oh, all sorts. Try to create divisions between the brothers. Bribe Drupada, send spies, try to turn Draupadi against them, maybe even arrange an accident for Bhima, the strongest one.
Classic Sakuni plotting. Does everyone agree?
Karna, typically blunt, thinks subtle tricks won't work. He just wants to impact them militarily.
But the elders, Bhishma and Drona,
They offer much wiser counsel. They tell Dhritarashtra, look, give them their rightful share, give them half the kingdom, they deserve it, they're powerful now, and trying to suppress them will only lead to disaster.
it sounds reasonable.
Very reasonable. But Karna immediately scoffs at them, saying they're only saying that because Dhritarashtra pays their bills, questioning their loyalty.
Ouch. Who backs up Bhishma and Drona?
Vidura does. Strongly, he argues. Listen to them. The Pandavas are strong. They have allies. Duryodhana's path leads to ruin. Give them their share.
Does Dhritarashtra listen?
It seems he listens enough to make a conciliatory gesture. Vidura is sent as an envoy to Drupada and the Pandavas.
Carrying what message?
Basically, Dhritarashtra's supposed goodwill. He sends gifts, expresses happiness about the alliance, and invites them back to Hastinapura, their ancestral kingdom.
Do they agree to go back?
They discuss it. Drupada is wary, but Krishna and his brother Balarama advise them to go. So they agree.
How's the reception when they arrive?
On the surface, quite welcoming. The Kauravas, including Drona and Kripa, meet them. The citizens are genuinely happy to see them return. The Pandavas pay respects to the elders, Bhishma, Dhritarashtra.
So far, so good.
Seems like it. But then comes Dhritarashtra's proposal. He says, to avoid any future conflict between you and my sons, you should take half the kingdom.
Okay, that's what Bhishma and Drona suggested.
Yes, but the half he offers them is Kandavakasa.
Pandava. I seem to recall that wasn't exactly prime real estate.
Not at all. It was basically a barren, uninhabited forest region. So yes, it's half the kingdom, but it's the undeveloped half. Effectively, it's a form of exile, pushing them out of the main city.
A clever, perhaps cynical move, do they accept?
They do. They agree and head off to Indraprastha.
And what do they make of it?
They perform miracles, really. With the help of Krishna and divine assistance from Maya, the architect of the Asuras, they transform this wasteland into the magnificent city of Indraprastha, described as being like a second heaven. Fortified, beautiful palaces, gardens, thriving communities. It becomes a symbol of their own power and prosperity.
Wow. They built their own capital from scratch. Now, about their living arrangements. 5 brothers, 1 wife. How do they manage that to avoid issues?
They established a very strict rule amongst themselves. The agreement was that if one brother entered the private chamber where Draupadi was present with another brother, that intruder would have to go into exile in the forest for 12 years.
12 years. That's a serious penalty, designed to prevent jealousy and conflict.
Absolutely, a clear boundary. But of course, rules like that in epics tend to get tested.
How does it happen?
A Brahmana comes rushing to Arjuna, pleading for help. Thieves have stolen his cattle, which he needs for sacrificial rites. The problem is Arjuna's weapons are stored in the room where Yudhishthira is currently with Draupadi.
Oh no. So Arjuna has a choice. Break the rule or fail in his duty to protect the Brahmana.
Exactly. A classic Dharma dilemma. What does he prioritize? His promise to his brothers or his duty as a Kshatriya to protect the populace?
What does he choose?
He agonizes, but decides protecting the Brahmana is the higher Dharma. He goes in, gets his weapons, rescues the cattle.
And faces the consequences. What does Yudhishthira say?
Yudhishthira actually tells him it's okay. He says an elder brother entering while a younger brother is with the wife isn't really the same violation, and besides, Arjuna's purpose was noble, fulfilling his duty. He essentially forgives him.
But Arjuna?
Arjuna insists on upholding the rule. He argues that adhering to the agreement, even when technically forgiven, is crucial for maintaining truth and order among them. He chooses to go into exile for 12 years anyway.
Wow, that's intense dedication to the principle, even above his brother's pardon.
It really highlights Arjuna's character, his commitment to Dharma as he sees it, even when it means immense personal sacrifice.
So he heads off into exile for 12 years. What happens during that time? It's a long time.
It becomes a period of, well, adventure and more marriages, actually. Quite eventful.
Oh, like what?
He has an encounter with Ulupi, a Naga princess, snake princess in the Ganges. She kind of drags him underwater. They spend time together, and she grants him invincibility in water.
Handy skill for a warrior. Anyone else?
Yes, he travels to Manipura and marries the Princess Chitrangada, but there's a condition. Their son must stay in Manipura as the heir to that kingdom, not return with Arjuna.
Interesting arrangements. He also helps some crocodiles.
He does. He finds these 5 crocodiles in sacred waters who are actually apsaras, celestial nymphs, cursed by a sage. Arjuna battles them, breaks the curse, and liberates them.
So heroic deeds, travel, romance. And then he goes to Dwaraka.
Right. Towards the end of his exile, he visits Dwaraka, the city of Krishna and the Yadavas. He gets a huge welcome from Krishna and the whole clan.
And another marriage happens there, doesn't it, with Krishna's sister?
Yes, this one's quite famous. He falls for Krishna's sister, Subhadra, but her brother, Balarama, seems to favor marrying her to Duryodhana. So Krishna gives Arjuna a little strategic advice.
Which is?
Basically that abducting a bride is acceptable for Kshatriyas in certain situations. So Arjuna arranges to, well, carry Subhadra off in his chariot while she's visiting a temple.
An abduction. How did her family react to that? I imagine Balarama wasn't pleased.
Not at all. Balarama and many other Yadava warriors were furious. They saw it as a huge insult and were ready to attack Arjuna.
How was that resolved?
Krishna stepped in. He gave this great speech defending Arjuna. He praised Arjuna's lineage, his character, his suitability as a husband for Subhadra, and argued that Arjuna had actually honored them by choosing her in this, well, forceful Kshatriya way. He smooths things over.
Krishna, the master diplomat again.
Always. So eventually, Balarama calms down, the Yadavas agree, and the marriage is formalized. This cements the alliance even further.
And after the 12 years are finally up?
Arjuna returns to Indraprastha with Subhadra.
How does Draupadi take having a co-wife, especially one brought back after such a long absence?
There's definitely some initial jealousy mentioned. Draupadi is understandably protective of her position, but Subhadra apparently approaches her very respectfully, almost like a handmaiden, acknowledging Draupadi's primary status. That helps smooth things over, and she's integrated into the family.
A potentially tricky situation handled with diplomacy, and this period also sees the next generation starting.
Yes, the text mentions the births of sons. Draupadi has one son with each of the 5 Pandavas. Pradavinta with Yudhishthira, Sutasoma with Bhima, Sritarman with Arjuna, Satanika with Nakula, and Sritasena with Sahadeva.
The Pandavas.
Exactly. And Arjuna and Subhadra have their famous son, Abhimanyu. All these sons are noted for their qualities and are destined for important roles later in the story.
So looking back at this whole period, right after the svayamvara, it's just packed. They go from disguised wanderers to recognized royalty, forge this crucial alliance, deal with this incredibly complex marriage.
Establish a magnificent capital city out of nothing, face internal tests of their rules, and expand their family through exile and strategic marriages. It's a whirlwind.
It really sets up so much of what's to come, doesn't it? The alliances, the rivalries, the unique family structure.
Absolutely foundational. These events establish their power base, solidify their key relationships, both positive and negative, and really define the core dynamics that will drive the entire epic forward towards the Great War.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listeners. Thinking about everything we've covered, the divine interventions, the unusual marriage, the political maneuvering, Arjuna's exile and return. How did these specific early experiences shape the Pandavas? Not just their political destiny, but maybe their characters, their relationships, and how they approached the massive conflicts yet to come in the Mahabharata.
It's a deep question. How much was destiny? How much was choice? And how did navigating these extraordinary beginnings prepare them, or perhaps even scar them, for the future? Something definitely worth pondering as you explore this incredible epic further. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.